Well, good morning and welcome to Zen Fits, or Strange Conceits. So here we are in Blackstone, Virginia, a beautiful day, the center of the world. And the title of this talk is The Second Reformation. I study Buddhism and Zen, used to study yoga, but I also study mythology through the works of Joseph Campbell, which I've been reading since 1970. About every decade I reread his books, and I'm currently rereading The Masks of God. And helps me get a wide-angle perspective on where we are today, the confusion of today. Because, you know, when you're swimming in the ocean, you go up and down with the waves. But if you could sit on the beach for a moment, you would see the whole ocean. But when you're in it, you can just see the wave, the up and down you're in. So right now, we're reality is like that. It's an ocean, and when you're in it, all you can see is the up and down of the wave. Oh no! And oh no, we're getting sick, we're drowning, oh no. But then just one moment on the beach, you see the gentle ocean, you see the waves lapping up on the shore, you see the foam, you see the horizon. You're stable. You are whole. You see the whole. But at the same time, when you just see the waves in the waves, you don't see the whole, and everything looks like you feel like you're drowning. So we're kind of like that today. We've lost our vision of the whole, and we don't know where we are and why we're going like this. The media that we watch every day is like the waves. There's a wave here, whoa, whoa, whoa. And we think each wave is the end of the world. Kind of like teenagers. Oh no, it's going to be like this forever. And then the bigger the wave, the deeper the valley. So we need a wider angle, and that's what I hope to bring to this, because I'm 83 and I have a wide angle lens just by being awake and aware at 83. It gives you a wide angle lens. And not to mention if you spend a lifetime studying mythology and history and the mystical traditions, as I have. So anyway, beside that. So what I wanted to bring out, the title of this talk is that this is where I see us as being in a second Reformation right now. Now, the first Reformation was the collapse of the Middle Ages in the 13th, 14th, 15th centuries. Took a while. The birth of the scientific method and the new vision of the world of Newton, where reality is a mathematical arrangement, mathematically governed material that can be discovered by science, and reality can be controlled through discovering of its laws. In the Middle Ages, reality was controlled by praying to God and going to church. But let's talk about the church, the dome of the middle. For 1,000 years, when the Roman Empire collapsed, it was replaced by the Holy Roman Catholic Church. And a dome was created to replace the Roman Empire over Europe and the pagan tribes, which became nations in Europe, you see. It was all controlled under one dome of the Catholic Church. And the primary concern in the Middle Ages, in the cosmology of the day, which was basically the ancient cosmology of heaven, earth, and hell, the three-layer cake, right? And we want to go to heaven and we don't want to go to hell. And earth is the middle kingdom, the bridge. You go up or down here, you see. You got one chance. And the doorway to heaven in the Middle Ages was the Catholic Church through the sacraments. There's 7 sacraments. So it was through these 7 sacraments that you were able to prevent from burning in hell for eternity. That was a frightening idea, you know. Burning in hell for eternity was very real. And heaven was very real. And so the Catholic Church in the Gothic cathedrals of the 12th century, every city had a Gothic cathedral. These were equivalent to having a moonshot. I mean, this took all their treasury to create a Gothic cathedral as a platform for the ascension into the church, you see. So anyway, but the point I want to make is that back in the, I guess it was the 4th century, with St. Augustine, there was a big debate in the formation of the Catholic Church through the councils that were periodically decreed, where they decided what was going to be acceptable doctrine and what wasn't. So a lot of the forces that we're experiencing today were weeded out of the church. And one of them was that the Augustine said that, and he was kind of like the theological father, said that the sacraments of the church are separate from and impervious to the character of the priest. In other words, if the priest was a drunkard, the sacraments he performed were valid. So the sacraments were permanently safe from corruption by the priest. This kind of like is why the Catholic Church got into so much trouble protecting its sacraments when the priest was a pedophile. The Protestant Reformation changed this. It went back to the doctrine that St. Augustine rejected, was that the sacraments depended upon the moral character of the church. In other words, the delivery system of the sacraments, the grace flowed through the moral character of the delivery of the priest, rather than the ritual of the church. See the difference? It's very important. Because what happened, what was the downfall of the church, is that the sacraments were necessary and vital in order to prevent going to hell, and as an access to heaven, you see, a membership to heaven, you had to, and these sacraments shaped your whole life from birth to death, you see. Sacraments were baptism and the last rites, all of them. They covered your whole life, you see. Every stage of your life was sacramentally validated by the church, you see. But what happened was that because the priests, the church, began to sell the sacraments. In other words, they began, it was called indulgences. You know, in other words, you could buy your way into heaven, you see. That became corrupt. And there was no way to correct it by the church because the sacraments worked whether the priest was corrupt or not, you see. So it was the catch-22. So one of the things that the Protestant Reformation did was make grace come through the moral character instead of the rituals of the church, you see. So what am I getting at here? So what I'm getting at here is that the scientific view, the Newtonian view of the universe as a universe governed by laws of mathematics instead of the moral laws of God. You see the switch here? In the Catholic Church, the universe, in the biblical universe, it is the God's moral laws that structure society. In the scientific world, it is the mathematical laws that govern reality, which can be discovered by the scientist. You can discover the mathematical laws and figure out how to fix things, you see. But the laws are impersonal. Mathematical laws are not personal. You see, science is impersonal. So the whole idea was that this personal universe of the Middle Ages, governed by a personal God, whose moral laws were personal, was shattered and the universe became impersonal. And now, instead of the priest giving you sacraments to salvation, it was the scientist who created sacraments to salvation through the technology. Salvation to sweating in the summer was air conditioning. So whatever you needed to get to something better, science would provide it. Technology would invent it, you see. So the whole world changed from an enclosed, hermetically sealed world of heaven and hell and going up and not going down, you see, through the Catholic Church. It was all shattered, and a whole new concept of reality was created, which is coming to an end now. So we're old enough now to look back and see the end of it in the 60s. I was just writing about this today. Before cable news, you had the trinity of the three networks, ABC, NBC, and CBS, you see. But the reality they were reporting was one. Just like this thing here. No, just as if I were a newscaster, I would be the anchor, but I would be referring to this wall of objective reality based in scientific investigation and evidentially proven facts, you see. And so if you might choose to watch me, or you might choose to watch two other networks, but the background objective reality would be the same. They would all refer to the same reality. Well, when cable came, that was shattered because cable broke up the trinity of the objective reality, and now, just like you had with the breakup of the Catholic Church, you had all these new churches. Now you got all these new cable networks, primarily Fox, CNN, others, and now it's even more. And each one began to report on news, but the background changed. So when the Church of Objective Reality, I'm trying to draw a parallel here between the Catholic Church as presenting one reality, one hermetically sealed, consistent reality to everybody, and there was no option but to believe it. The scientific world presented, through centuries of success, presented one hermetically sealed objective reality. And the scientist became the new priest. That was shattered in the 60s and 70s with particularly with the cable news, because when the objective world was shattered, then every news could come up with a new slant on reality. So what we have today is a fragmentation of the scientific worldview. We see it in the news every day. So there's a distrust of science. And when did that happen? Well, science began to sell indulgences, just like the priests began to sell sacraments. Look at the cigarette advertising. Lucky Strikes. 20,000 doctors, whatever, say this is the best cigarette. In other words, the science was selling cigarettes. And so studies began to sell products. Studies began to sell viewpoints. And now you can come up with a scientific study to prove anything. The internet's flooded with it. We're we're washed in waves of studies, each contradicting the other. Science sold indulgences. Science sold the sacraments, which is objective reality, proven by methodical, scientific, rational research, you see. So it's all shattered. So what happens in the place is that, as we all know, when the church or when the authority is disproven, everyone's in authority, and we become very susceptible to snake oil salesmen. Everybody's selling the truth, and you got to have something to hold on to, otherwise we fall into psychosis, the collective psychosis. So we cling to this viewpoint or this viewpoint, you see. So everything has been fragmented, and every fragment says, I got the truth. And so it's a very confusing world we're in right now, because the old scientific church has been shattered, and we haven't come up with a new way of telling what the truth is. So truth has been fragmented. And anyway, so I'm kind of like looking at the world now from that wide-angle view, that we're really going through a period in human history that is equivalent to the scientific revolution and the Reformation in Europe that ended the Middle Ages, which, by the way, lasted for 1,000 years. And our age right now, the modern age, began with, say, the 16th century, and it has come to this point. So I think we're at the end of the modern age, and yet we don't know what the new age is, called the postmodern age, and we don't know what it is yet, because we're creating it. But a new age is being born, but we don't know what it is because we're creating it, you see. And so it's helpful to have a wide-angle view, and for me, and it's helpful to know that we're really okay. We're just in a transitional stage in human history where the old is dying and the new is not yet born yet. So it's very, and this is what's called the age of anxiety. So anxiety means things are ambiguous. You don't know up or down. The wave up here, the valley here, which am I? Am I going up or going down? Am I going to heaven or am I going to hell? You see, whoa, that's where we are right now. Whoa. Thanks for dropping in.